You know, outside you can see some really cool classic rides, but they're also loaded with technology and innovation, like this 1964 Scout 800. Take a look at this grill. Do you ever think you'd see a 3D printed grill on a 64 Scout here? This was built at Fuller Moto in Atlanta, and there's tons of goodies on this thing that were actually 3D printed. From the suspension points, it's got a Fox long travel suspension on here. From the inside too, that real inspiration for this Scout 8K was to be part Range Rover, part Bronco. You look at that beautiful interior. They just did such a nice job with this. And really, front to back, you can see the idea was to build something that had the sort of flex of a Baja truck, but it wasn't way up in the air. This thing is gorgeous and really well built. I can't wait to see it cross the block later.
Yeah, I think in 1964, Rut, they didn't have any concept of 3D and what they were going to be doing in the automotive world with it decades and decades later. Right behind the 1964 International Scout Custom, and this is the one that Rutledge previewed for us earlier, and just one of many great-looking Scout Customs that we've seen this week here at Barrett-Jackson.
You know, it's a big deal when Courtney Hansen hops out of the inside of it, but one of the things that I really like that Fuller Customs did, you can see this is a 3D printed front grille here, and a ton of different parts on this vehicle, Tyler, were 3D printed and then turned into metal, and you can really see the way that it all came together. But you've got a Fox long travel suspension on here that really gives it like a Baja truck-esque feel, but it's not jacked way up in the air, so it still really sits like a Pro 2 truck. It's got the NP205 transfer case in there. It's got an LS that's powering it. And you can see, too, they really were trying to do sort of a Range Rover meets Bronco sort of a vibe, but all modern LEDs on here, Tyler. I think this thing came together really nicely for a Scout.
Absolutely, and here's one thing you can't do out in the staging lanes. Let's look together at the chassis cam. And yeah, that Baja style is what you're talking about. Wow, it's all dressed up, too, in bright orange. What are you seeing, right?
I mean, it's beautiful. They really put a lot of effort. Fox actually tuned these shocks for this vehicle, which is a huge thing to do. So you can actually, not only can you use this.
Well, look up now, $260,000.
I think we're about to set a world record on an International Scout. We saw some cross the block earlier this week. We're at $300,000. We thought 120 was great. This, a beautifully done International Scout from 1964.
You know how to pick them, right? Wow.
Guys, I mean, when you see it, you look inside the interior on this thing, you really see that sort of Rover-inspired look, and it obviously paid off for them.
$300,000 for a 1964 International Scout, that LS V8 engine inside, Holley intake manifold, all kinds of great work, possibly the nicest International Scout ever. And boy, it brought big money right here on the auction block.